Welcome to the deep dive. What if the place you lived wasn't just, four walls and a roof? What if it was something more? Like a living, breathing entity, almost like a book filled with untold stories just waiting for you to read them. Imagine moving into a new home and you find out it has this profound, uh, poetic spirit, and with it, there's this hidden community just waiting on you. A community ready to show you a world that actually breathes poems. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really fascinating collection of personal notes and insights. It's called Poetry Thursdays. And these aren't just like a simple story about someone named Dev moving into an old adobe in New Mexico. No, they're more like a pathway to understanding a pretty radical new way of thinking about poetry, creativity, even intuition itself. It's a journey that really challenges how we think about where inspiration comes from.
That's exactly right. And our mission here with this deep dive, it isn't just about telling a story. It's about pulling out these really useful nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, about intuition.
Yeah, about deep connection. And about the surprising ways, often ways we totally overlook, that we can find really profound meaning in unexpected places. We'll be looking at how we can tap into something that's already there, like an existing wellspring of inspiration, like a kind of wisdom that's pre-written almost, instead of always trying to invent something totally new, completely from scratch. This whole deep dive, it's going to challenge those, conventional ideas about authorship. And it invites you, our listening, to really think about how much we actually listen. Listen to the world around us, listen to ourselves instead of just talking over it or trying to force our own stories onto everything.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this with the house itself, the adobe. It's really the stage for this whole transformation, isn't it? Our sources describe 727 Camino Santa Ana as this incredible adobe casita. In New Mexico, tucked away off this narrow, almost secret road, the description is so vivid, it says the walls literally rise like sleeping beasts under the New Mexico sun, which immediately suggests something ancient, right? Something powerful, but also deeply at rest. It feels like it stands not so much in the neighborhood as slightly beside it, as if it remembered older maps, older times. You get this immediate, really palpable sense of age and this quiet, almost watchful presence. The walls are this deep, rich color of burnt clay. Warm, cracked, so thick they seem to hold silence right inside them. You can almost feel the desert earth.
And the sensory experience Dev describes is it's incredible, right? From the very first moment he steps inside. The air inside is apparently much cooler than you'd expect, even on a blazing hot New Mexico day. And it's thick with this sweet herbal scent, rosemary, maybe dried juniper leaves, like the house itself is breathing out, filled with the scent of the desert it grew from. Sunlight filters through these skylights, placed just so. The kitchen dust motes that float like drifting ash from some unseen fire. It gives the air this luminous, almost ethereal quality. The floor is old Saltillo tile, worn uneven in spots from, countless footsteps, soft under bare feet. And then they have these thick vigas, the dark wooden beams in the ceiling, darkened with age, and subtly carved with these lines. Just as they remind him of ancient prayer marks. Even the plants inside the house, they're described like they have agency. They aren't arranged perfectly, but seem to have chosen where to be. Spider plants cascading down, a leaning ficus tree sort of guarding a corner. It's not just describing a house. It really paints this vivid picture of a home that feels ancient, deeply rooted, and somehow.
It really does. It's like the house is a character itself right from the get-go.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is the immediate impression it makes on Dev and on us reading about it. The sources explicitly state this was no ordinary rental. This was a space that had not been empty between tenants. It had only been waiting. See? It's not just the building being passively occupied. It's presented like a sentient being patiently anticipating who comes next. Dev feels watched, but not in a menacing way. Watch the way trees watch, with age and breath and knowing. End quote. That anthropomorphic quality, right from the start, it sets this incredibly resonant tone for everything that follows. And then there are those mysterious lines etched into the adobe wall by the fountain, these curving, swirling lines. They're described not just as decoration, but as something that feels deeply intentional, like a code. It hints at this hidden language within the house's structure, a secret waiting to be deciphered, a testament to its living memory. And this raises a really important question for us, for you listening. How often do we really notice, let alone try to interpret, the silent communication all around us in our everyday spaces? Are our own homes maybe speaking to us in ways we just haven't learned to hear yet?
That's a really powerful thought. And it's right at this point, just as Dev is grappling with this intensely alive house and its subtle messages, that someone else enters the picture, a new, equally enigmatic figure, the landlord, Elián. And his arrival isn't just unconventional. It basically shatters any idea Dev, or frankly, us might have about what a landlord is supposed to be like. He doesn't knock, he just appears. Dev's bent over his laptop thinking, and the door just creaks open, then shuts softly behind him. And Elián stands there in the arched entryway like he'd been part of the adobe all along. He's a striking figure, too. Tall, maybe 6'3", skin like bronze leather from the sun, long white ponytail, linen clothes that kind of float around him. And he's barefoot. Silver rings on his toes. His eyes are described as sea green with flecks of gold, having the same quiet burn as the New Mexico sky at high noon. Intense. He has this immediate comfort, like he owns the place but in a different way. He pours himself tea as if he'd always lived here, like he's the house's oldest companion.
Yeah, and Elián's presence immediately starts to unpack this unique, almost mystical philosophy about what a home really is. When Dev, understandably a bit thrown off, asks us why he calls the house she, Elián just responds with this deep conviction. He says, all houses are women, this one especially, built with curves and heat and patience. She remembers everything. That's not just him being poetic, It's presented as his core belief in the house's living memory, its sentience. It's not just a structure, it's a keeper of wisdom, of experience. And then his lifestyle adds another layer. He says he sleeps in different places, guest houses, couches, hammocks, sometimes the shed if it's not occupied. So he's not an owner in the typical sense. He's more like a caretaker, a guide. Maybe a kind of gatekeeper for the travelers, the one who haven't settled yet. He says, they always find their way here. Yeah. So he's less a landlord and more like a conduit, maybe even an oracle for people seeking a deeper connection to place and to themselves.
And it's Elián who almost casually drops the core revelation, the idea that changes everything for Dev. And honestly, for us, as we follow along, he says it almost to himself, like stating a fundamental truth. Most people imagine that poets write the words. They don't. The words are already there in the stones, in the bark, in the folds of your palm. They're red. Dev describes feeling this chill run down his spine, and he instinctively asks if it means, like, translated.
That is such a crucial moment, isn't it? If we really connect this to the bigger picture, this idea that words, meaning poetry, it's already there, just waiting to be read or translated, well, that fundamentally shifts our whole understanding of creativity, of any creative act. It changes the role of the artist, the thinker, the innovator, from being this solitary creator trying to pull something out of thin air to being a receptive translator, a listener. So what does it really mean, then, to be a translator instead of a creator? It implies a kind of humility, doesn't it? A deep listening, a recognition that maybe the truest originality lies in revealing what already exists, making the implicit explicit rather than inventing something totally new. I mean, think about it. How many times have you felt stuck trying to force an idea, only to find inspiration when you finally step back, quiet your mind, and just observe? Could that be a moment where you shifted from trying to create to simply translating what was already waiting? This idea really challenges how we typically value art and innovation.
It suggests maybe the greatest genius isn't about invention from nothing, but about honing our sensitivity to what's already resonating out there. And this ties right back to those mysterious markings by the fountain. Remember when Dev asked if someone told Elián he sees patterns? Elián just gives this cryptic smile and says, "You did, just now." Whoa. So this raises a really important question for us. What unspoken knowledge, what subtle patterns, what unwritten texts are we putting out there for others to read about us, often without even realizing it? What stories are our bodies, our habits, our silences telling the world?
That's a truly fascinating thought. So it's not just about us reading the environment, but also about what we're unconsciously putting into it. Makes you wonder, what little things could we do to cultivate that humility, that deeper listening in our own lives? Whether it's noticing patterns in a conversation or the rhythm of our walk or even the unspoken story in a mundane task.
Exactly. It invites us to consider our own subtle texts. Think about the nonverbal cues we send out, the energy we bring into a room, the patterns in our habits. These are all languages. Others are constantly reading about us, often unconsciously. Becoming aware of what we're emitting could fundamentally change how we interact, how we see ourselves. Maybe those moments of real connection where you feel truly seen, maybe that's when someone is reading the deeper poem of who you are. And the unconventional invitations just keep coming in this story. The sources describe how the community members just start showing up at Dev's door, always unannounced, always when I happen to be home. It's striking how Dev feels it wasn't coincidence, but design. Not my design, of course, someone else's. Or maybe the houses. He describes feeling increasingly invited and accepted into this unexpected, really intimate family, which must be a powerful feeling when you're new somewhere,
trying to find your place.
Yeah, the significance of that nonverbal invitation is really profound. It points to a level of trust, intuition, a way of building community where belonging isn't based on ticking boxes or formal introductions. It's about resonant presence, an energetic fit. The fact that Elián clearly signals Dev's arrival to the others, like he's energetically ready, that's quite something. And Serafina Cruz's opening line of Dev, "So you're the new silence in the house," just perfectly captures it. It suggests they recognized a particular energy Dev brought, a quiet space that the house and its people somehow sensed was needed.
Or right, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it implies this deep, almost instinctual wisdom in sensing who belongs. A wisdom that bypasses rules and resumes, about being felt, maybe, rather than just seen or heard conventionally. A kind of deep knowing.
It totally shifts the idea of belonging, doesn't it? You don't apply, you just resonate.
Yeah.
And once Dev was kind of folded into this unique family, the one he hadn't planned for, he started seeing firsthand how everyone in this community, from the quietest person to the most outgoing performer, how they all found their own incredible ways of reading the real, completely redefined his understanding of what creativity even means. Let's start with Luna Marquez and her amazing moonleaf theory.
Yes, Luna. She's described as a Chicana botanist poet, mid-40s maybe. And she literally dresses like the desert layers of linen in ochre, clay red, and dust blue, like she's woven from the landscape itself. She carries this satchel, and it's full of pressed leaves, but not like scientific specimens, like texts. Her voice is soft but precise, like someone reading sacred text, which tells you something about the reverence she has for this. And her core talent is just breathtaking. She reads poetry in the veins of leaves and moon craters. Think about that. To her, nature isn't metaphor. It is the poem itself. She calls it the moonleaf theory. It's such a radical, almost ancient way of seeing the natural world, suggesting beauty isn't something we project onto nature, but something we uncover within it.
The moonleaf theory provides such a powerful, almost practical application of this whole idea of reading pre-existing poetry. Luna doesn't just talk about it. She shows how she reads a leaf. She says, this line is the skein, the body of the word. The branches are syllables. Each curve, each fork tells you where the breath should be taken. See, it's not just abstract philosophy. It's a method, an embodied way of extracting meaning that's already there. And the sources give this amazing example. After a really fierce storm, Luna finds an aspen leaf still clinging to a branch. And using her method, she reads it. And this incredible poem comes through. You will never be the first storm, nor the last quiet, but if you fall, fall like something that knew the branch was a borrowed home. Wow. What's truly fascinating here is how concretely it shows poetry as found, not invented. The poem wasn't in Luna's head waiting to be written down. It was in the leaf, embedded in its structure, its experience. And she just had the sensitivity, the method, the deep attention needed to translate it. It's an incredible lesson in observation, in listening.
It really is. And Luna doesn't stop at leaves. She shows how this applies universally. The sources say she pulls out an old NASA photo of the moon, black and white, full of craters, and she reads the craters and ridges as stanzas, repetitions, line breaks. She says, you just have to learn the syntax. Her core belief is so clear, and it's a direct challenge to how we usually think about art. Poets are not creators, we're translators. And she leaves Dev with this powerful, almost humbling thought. Nothing imagined can rival what's already written. Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? That the world is already overflowing with stories, with profound beauty, with wisdom, just waiting for us to notice them, if we can just quiet ourselves enough to really listen.
Indeed. And this community is this vibrant tapestry of people, each with their own unique, compelling way of reading or expressing this found poetry. You've got Thomas Whitefeather, a Navajo painter, late 60s maybe, a man of quiet power. He literally paints poems. He interprets what others read, sees in color what others say in words, unquote. The sources even say his canvas showed Luna's aspen leaf poem before she read it out loud, which just underscores this incredible idea of pre-existing poetry being accessed at the same time through different senses, a kind of collective intuitive translation. It's profound. Then there's Serafina Cruz, Afro-Latina poet, activist, early 30s, described as a spoken word firestorm. Her voice can apparently slice through noise or wrap around you like smoke. And she challenges Dev directly, looking right at him, asking, but have you stopped yet? That's the real beginning. Such a simple question, but it cuts right to the core of presence. Michael Lansing, Hollywood screenwriter, early 50s, used to crafting stories, right? But here he writes secret sonnets at night. He masks this devastating honesty with self-deprecation, calls himself the least gifted. But he gives Dev this crucial advice about their shared art. You ever want to publish what you find here? Don't. Just read it aloud. That's enough. Which speaks volumes about the value of the experience itself over getting external validation. And then Juniper James, non-binary artist, 20s. who writes poems in bone and ash, carves stories into driftwood, composes riddles that take weeks to solve. Unquote. They apparently show up without warning, sometimes late at night, leaving these cryptic lines like, "The road doesn't end, it just chooses not to be seen."
Wow, that's fascinating. If you connect all that to the bigger picture, this incredible diversity of talents, it really shows that reading the real isn't just one thing. It's not limited to writing or painting or any single art form. It's about a fundamental shift in how you perceive things, recognizing patterns, finding meaning in everything, from the tiny veins in a leaf to the vastness of the moon, from powerful spoken word to the quiet itself. It really broadens our definition of where art and meaning can actually live, way beyond just the canvas or the page.
And the community grows even wider than this core group of 5. The sources mention what they call the drifting dozen, which really shows the sheer breadth of this way of seeing. You have Maria del Sol, an elderly herbalist farmer. Her poems are described as incantations, woven right into her remedies, her connection to the earth. Maya Chen, a baker, who literally makes green tea cakes with edible haiku written in frosting, turning words into something you can taste, share. Willow Rain, an unhoused poet living on the edges but leaving these carefully folded verses in unexpected places. Sometimes sleeps in the shed, almost part of the house's ecosystem. Raji Bhatt, a Bengali physicist. He codes AI in Sanskrit and writes algorithmic verse, seeing poetry in the logic of the universe itself. Carmen Alvarez, a flamenco dancer who turns punctuation into pirouettes, expressing rhythm and meaning through her body through movement. And Isaac Blue, a Kabbalist mystic who recites ancient psalms, then switches seamlessly to Bob Dylan lyrics, finding the connections across different traditions.
It really is a whole spectrum of expression, isn't it? What a rich, diverse group.
Absolutely. And what's so powerful is how each person, no matter their background or the usual art form, embodies this idea of reading the real. Maya Chen isn't just baking. She's distilling the quiet wisdom of a haiku into something tangible, edible. Like the words are baked right into reality, and she's just revealing them. Or think about Raji Bhatt, the physicist. He's finding poetry in algorithms, suggesting even the most abstract systems hold these inherent artistic patterns. It broadens our definition of poetry to cover almost everything humans do: science, cooking, spirituality, movement. This sheer diversity makes you ask, does truly reading the world, truly tapping into this universal language, does it require us to shed our labels, our professional roles, our personal identities, to become like a blank page ourselves, just ready to receive? It suggests maybe we need to strip away our preconceived ideas, our egos, to really open ourselves to the world's inherent poetry.
Speaking of becoming a blank page, let's turn back to Dev's own transformation, which really mirrors this whole journey. He describes his initial feeling as unnerving, like I was being inducted into a family I hadn't applied for. You can feel the initial human resistance, right, to the unknown, to being chosen instead of choosing. But then comes this crucial realization: he was accepted. Not because I had proven anything, but because I had stopped trying to. It was a surrender. And a key turning point is Elián's simple note, left on a blank page on Dev's desk. Just one word: begin. It's not really a command, though. More like an invitation into a new way of being, an instruction to just start without any expectation.
Yeah, and this process of unremembering how to be practical, as Michael Lansing puts it so well, that's such a crucial step, a step towards finding meaning that's already there, instead of always feeling you have to create it. It fundamentally requires letting go of control, doesn't it? Shedding expectations, releasing that urge to do or produce in the usual goal-oriented way. It's about cultivating this state of receptive awareness, just profound openness. That's the blank page Dev had become mentally, emotionally, allowing himself to be a vessel, not an architect. It's a total reorientation of how you stand in the world, creatively speaking.
And it leads to this beautiful description of Dev writes the sky, a really powerful moment of internal shift. Days after a storm, the sky is so clear, so deeply blue, it felt like a new invention. And Dev feels this profound internal change. The blank page from Elián, still untouched, a silent witness. But he has this deep realization: I didn't need to begin. I needed to listen. So he goes out to the courtyard with his notebook, pen poised like an antenna, just sensing, receiving. And instead of trying to force sentences, he starts writing shapes. First the curl of a vine, a bird's flight path, a raindrop starburst pattern on the adobe, then rhythms like the way the breeze pauses at the window or the pulse in his own wrist. And only after all that listening do fragments of words start to come. Simple, resonant words.
And those initial read poems Dev captures are truly powerful. They really embody this new way of seeing. Lines like, "The crow writes with its shadow on the ribs of the morning," or "Stones speak in broken alphabets that rain can only half erase." End quote. Between the breath of the rosemary and the silence of the walls, something waits, spelling you out. They aren't complex or showy. but they have this deep resonance, almost primal. And this highlights the core transformation for Dev. He realizes, for the first time in years, I didn't think about audience or market or application. I wasn't writing to be read. I wasn't writing to explain. I was writing because the sky had words too, and they had been waiting long enough. That's the shift, isn't it? From ego-driven creation, needing external validation, to just pure receptive expression, allowing the world's poetry to flow through him, becoming a conduit for something bigger.
This shift gets beautifully affirmed in this quiet, unexpected moment when Maria del Sol shows up. She moves like a whisper, apparently. Her cloth bag smells like basil and sage. Her presence is just calming. She brews some tea and then just says to Dev, softly but firmly, "You found it." And when Dev, still trying to figure out what it even is, asks, "Found what?" she just taps his chest gently. "The tuning fork inside you." Wow. Such a simple but incredibly profound moment of recognition, of affirmation.
And Maria's advice right then just cuts through all the noise, all the intellectual striving. She says, that's the old language talking. Good, bad, right, wrong, forget that. You listened. That's all. And this connects directly to us, to you listening. What judgments do we impose on our own observations, our own insights? Judgments that stop us from truly listening to what's unfolding around us or inside us. Do we dismiss things that aren't conventionally good or right as a way to protect ourselves from vulnerability, maybe, or uncertainty? And in doing so, do we miss these profound moments of intuitive insight? This suggests that judgment is often the biggest wall we put up against deep listening, against genuine receptivity.
And it all kind of culminates in Dev's dream, this vivid, almost lucid dream where he finds himself walking along the ridges of the moon, not like an astronaut, but like he belongs there, hearing poetry in the craters and the shadows, feeling each breath like turning a page in a book. It's a complete immersion in this whole idea.
Yeah, that dream signals this profound, almost final awakening for Dev. The realization that hits him when he wakes up is truly transformative. I wasn't here to build something. I wasn't here to conquer my silence. I was here to be written. That shift from active agency, right, seeing himself as a builder, a doer, someone who makes things happen, to this state of profound receptive awareness, that's a huge lesson in itself. It's about becoming a vessel for something larger than yourself, allowing the world to express itself through you instead of you imposing your will on it. It's complete radical surrender to the existing story of the universe, a willingness to be shaped by its inherent poetry.
And this surrender also shows up beautifully in the community's own rhythms, especially the electric energy of the tune-up cafe nights. Santa Fe after dusk is described as having this strange kind of electricity, this palpable hum. When the artists come out, the seekers sit a little straighter. Serafina's instructions to Dev were really precise, almost like a ritual. 9 o'clock, don't be early, don't be late, just show up like a question waiting to be answered. And the cafe itself sounds amazing, part roadside diner, part sanctum. Warm yellow walls, prayer flags fluttering, and that smell of green chili and espresso. It sets such a vivid, almost sacred scene for these gatherings.
Serafina's performance at the tune-up is a powerful example of this found poetry in action, delivered with this raw, channeled intensity. Her voice sliced the quiet, the source says, as she recites these incredibly potent lines. My city's heart beats like a bruised drum-off rhythm, but still loud, still trying, still loud. And then, this call to liberation. I was born with a siren in my mouth and a key to a door they swore didn't exist. I found the door, I left it open. The reaction in the room, someone whispering, "Damn," shows the raw power of words that come not from careful crafting, but from deep listening, from lived experience, from channeled truth. It's not about being clever. It's about authentic revelation.
And the discussion afterwards is just wonderful. It shows how nuanced their understanding is of different kinds of expression. They talk about the flavors of poetry. Tuesday poems are sharp, like a sudden insight. Sunday poems taste like apologies, maybe reflecting on regrets. Thursday poems are trying to say too much in too few words, concise, but maybe a bit strained. Road poems apparently smell like gasoline, break down, rugged, untamed. And leaf poems don't care what day it is. Timeless, natural. It's such a beautiful, almost synesthetic way to talk about different kinds of expression. Suggests poetry isn't just one thing.
Yeah, it deepens our understanding of how varied found poetry can be. And this raises an important question, especially with what Thomas Whitefeather says to Dev. When Dev admits he doesn't know what kind of poem he's finding yet, Thomas says, then you're still lucky. The poem hasn't found you yet. When it does, it'll be your only voice. Wow. What's the fundamental difference, the transformative difference between writing a poem from your head or heart and a poem finding you and becoming your only singular voice? It implies a deeper authenticity, doesn't it? A true alignment where the person becomes this pure, unavoidable channel for what needs saying.
rather than being an active constructor of the message. It speaks to this level of surrender where expression becomes inevitable, singular, deeply personal. It's about being chosen by the message, not choosing it.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful distinction. And the whole tune-up experience, it's described not as an event, but a gathering. No program, no formality, just coming together. Dev feels like a missing tile returning to a mosaic, like he's finally found his place in this vibrant, creative ecosystem. And Serafina's parting advice is just perfect. It embodies the whole philosophy. Don't chase the poem, walk. It will catch you when you're too tired to be clever. It's all about patience, isn't it? Presence, receptivity, letting the world reveal its secrets when you least expect it, maybe when you stop trying so hard.
And as this beautiful, profound counterpoint to the vibrant, almost thunderous Thursdays, you have the deep communion of the silent soup nights on Mondays. The sources tell us the Thursdays were thunder, but the Mondays were rain, soft soaking rain. Apparently, it started organically with willow rain during a storm, a moment of unexpected vulnerability that led to this quiet, unspoken shared meal, a ritual of shared humanity.
The atmosphere of these nights sounds truly unique and deeply moving. No readings, no performances, no introductions, only soup, only presence. It's described as living silence, not awkward silence, not heavy silence, but a silence that's rich, deep, nurturing. This profound quiet apparently makes the candle flame seem bigger, your own heartbeat louder. The simple act of breathing feels more pronounced, and the kitchen itself starts to feel like a mouth whispering prayers too old for words. It's a silence that lets a deeper connection happen beyond spoken language.
And those moments of quiet revelation are so powerful precisely because they happen without external noise, forcing this internal shift. We hear about Isaac Blue quietly putting a Psalms book on the table, but not opening it. Its wisdom just felt. Or Juniper tracing these evaporating spiral poems on a steamy window pane art that disappears as you watch. Or Serafina, heavy with some unspoken sorrow, just eating with her hands, finding comfort in the simple act of nourishment. The sources say so poignantly, we didn't ask, we didn't name the sadness, we just bore witness. This really explores the profound healing power of shared, accepting silence. What's fascinating here is how just being together without needing explanations or performances or even words provides this deep nourishment, this profound solace. Elián, showing up rarely at a silent soup night, confirms this. He says with quiet conviction, words can heal, but silence grows new roots. This raises a really important question for you, the listener. What's the true value of nonverbal connection, of deep accepting silence in your own life? How much healing, how much profound connection might you be missing by always feeling the need to fill the space? With words, activity, noise, how often do you let silence grow new roots inside you?
And Dev's own realization about these nights is just a beautiful summary of the whole philosophy. It widens his understanding of what poetry even is. He thinks, maybe poetry wasn't only in the writing, maybe poetry was also here. Quote, in the ladle passing from hand to hand, in the steam rising in the candlelight, in the shared silence that asked nothing and gave everything. Maybe this was a poem too, one you could taste, one you could breathe, one you could live inside forever.
Which brings us perfectly to the ultimate, really mind-bending revelation. The house itself is the poem. Our sources set the scene for this discovery so beautifully. It's a rare winter morning. Snow is falling, soft, magical, cold enough to bite the breath from your lungs, and this luminous hush falls over Santa Fe. Dev wakes up with this feeling like something older than you nudges you up from sleep, an inexplicable pull, and then he finds Elián's cryptic note. Simple, yet huge. Come to the fountain, bring nothing.
The suspense really builds as Dev follows Elián out to the courtyard. Elián kneels by the fountain and very deliberately brushes away the soft snow. And underneath isn't just stone or adobe, it's thousands of tiny swirling lines meticulously etched into the very foundation of the courtyard floor. It's described as a map, a manuscript, a language of shapes. This isn't just decoration, this is the house speaking its deepest secret, the blueprint of its own being. What a moment.
It's a completely jaw-dropping discovery, isn't it? It reframes everything Dev has experienced up to that point. And it raises that important question for all of us. What hidden layers of meaning, what ancient stories, what profound wisdom might be lying just beneath the surface of our own familiar surroundings, waiting to be revealed if we only knew how to look, how to listen? Are we really looking or just seeing the surface? Elián then delivers his grand confession, not with pride, but with this quiet sense of stewardship. He says, I built her, stone by stone, word by word. He confirms it. The house is a poem, a living, breathing verse. Each curve is a breath. Each line is a memory. Each corner you touch, each beam overhead, each cracked tile beneath your feet, it's all a poem, the whole house. But what's fascinating is Elián's role. He doesn't say he invented it, right? Conjured it from nothing. He says, I didn't invent it. I translated it.
He points to the landscape, the mountains, the riverbeds, the earth itself. It was already written. I just listened closely enough to put it into form. This profoundly expands our definition of what a poem can be, from written words to living architecture. And the builder isn't the creator, but a sensitive conduit for patterns already present in the land, like a sculptor finding the shape within the stone.
And Dev's own integration into this living poem, this architectural verse, is just as profound. Elián tells him, his voice just full of truth. You're part of it now. Your breath, your steps, your silences. They're woven into her body, into her voice. And then comes the prophecy, a truly transformative statement. And she will speak you too when the time comes.
Yeah.
It suggests this reciprocal thing, a merging of identities between person and place.
The implications of being spoken by a place, becoming interwoven into its very fabric, they're huge, deeply philosophical. How does our environment subtly, profoundly shape our identity, our perspective, our expression, even beyond our conscious efforts? This is a massive shift from seeing ourselves as independent agents acting on the world, separate from our surroundings. It shifts to seeing ourselves as participants in a larger unfolding story, being acted upon by our environment, integrated into its essence. It suggests this reciprocal symbiotic relationship with our surroundings that goes way deeper than just living somewhere. It's about being absorbed, transformed, and ultimately expressed by the very place we call home.
And as Dev and Elián keep uncovering more carvings, they find this astonishing array of images, waves, vines, clouds, and these mysterious, abstract shapes that felt like echoes of dreams I hadn't yet had. And everywhere, tiny, faintly etched words in multiple languages: Spanish, English, Navajo, Sanskrit, even unknown ancient tongues. Words like breathe, listen, remember, belong, become. It's like finding a universal Rosetta Stone built into the foundation.
Right. What's so fascinating is the multilingual, elemental nature of the house's words. It suggests there's this universal language beneath all human attempts to communicate, a primal layer of meaning transcending culture or time, a truth available to anyone who just listens. And Elián's rejection of fame is also very telling. He says, fame is for echo chambers. This is for ears that haven't forgotten how to listen. It really reinforces the purity of what he's done, the inherent value of the act itself, not tainted by wanting recognition. He crystallizes the whole philosophy with that simple, powerful statement: you don't find poems, you fall into them. It emphasizes that true understanding, true connection comes from surrender, from profound receptivity, not from actively seeking or striving. It's an invitation to just let go and be enveloped by the world's inherent poetry.
And Dev's deepest assimilation into this idea, his ultimate surrender, comes when he dreams he is the house. The walls breathing with his breath, the beams humming with ancient vibrations, the floors remembering every footstep, every silent moment. It's a complete dissolving of the boundary between himself and the house.
Which leads to that profound, almost sacred line that forms in Dev's mind when he wakes up. The culmination of his whole journey. This is not a house, it is a mouth open forever, singing all who pass through it back into themselves. That represents the ultimate absorption into the house's living poetry, a complete transformation of self, where the individual becomes an inseparable part of this greater poetic whole. It's the ultimate aha moment, where self and environment become one, and the purpose shifts from doing to simply being, and being sung into existence by existence itself.
And this profound transformation culminates so beautifully, so organically on the spring equinox. The sources note it wasn't planned by humans, it happened because the house did. Like the house decided. The air shimmers with anticipation, pinions are budding, rosemary's blooming, and Dev feels this undeniable thrum beneath the soles of my feet, like a drumbeat rising from below. The house was ready, signaling this collective awakening.
The return of the poets for this awakening is deeply symbolic and really moving. They gather in the courtyard, the fountains filled with wildflowers and chalked verse. Each person brings their unique offering, their unique translation of the world. Tomas starts things off, not with words, but with a visual poem. Unrolling a canvas of symbols, it's a silent, visual echo of the etched poem right under their feet, a testament to that universal language. It beautifully sets the stage for this multi-sensory reading of the world, where art transcends forms.
Then the individual readings begin, this tapestry of shared, found expression weaving Dev even deeper into the community. Luna offers a poem from a mesquite leaf imbued with the plant's wisdom. I am not old, I am sediment, layered by sky, shaped by silence, tasting everything before it becomes wind. Serafina offers a soft lullaby, a surprising contrast to her usual fire, showing another facet of her truth. Michael reads an etched verse, a secret shared. Maria shares a recipe, but adds a new, profound line. This house brews its own medicine, suggesting nourishment beyond food. Juniper simply scatters petals. a fleeting, beautiful act, saying, that's the poem. You just watched it happen. And Willow, the quiet, unhoused poet, shares a poignant poem directly for Dev, acknowledging his place now. If you're here, you're part of it. Stop doubting. Start listening. Everything else is just weather. Each offering is like a different facet of the same diamond, reflecting the same light.
And then the climax. The moment the house itself truly speaks. Elián steps forward, this figure of ancient wisdom. He presses his hands to the floor, whispers to the house, a gesture of deep reverence, connection. And what happens next is, well, it's fascinating, almost unbelievable. The wind shifted, the sky stilled, and from the carved lines on the floor, from the walls, from the beams overhead, we felt it. The house recited its poem, not in language, in feeling, in vibration, in the way our bones remembered something they had never been taught. This is the ultimate aha moment, isn't it? Where the house truly speaks its inherent poetry directly to them. Not through words you can write down, but through this visceral, ancient resonance. A profound vibration that bypasses the mind and hits you right in the core. It's a collective remembrance, a shared knowing beyond explanation.
The shift that follows this experience is palpable, deeply moving. A shared silence settles over everyone, a sacred quiet. The feeling is described as being soaked in it, together, whole, like a collective baptism in the house's truth.
And that's really where we conclude this deep dive, reiterating that profound, transformative shift in understanding. Poetry Thursdays had returned, not just as a tradition, but as a way of seeing, a way of being, a shared agreement with the universe that if we dared to listen deeply enough, we would never again need to invent beauty. We would only need to remember it and read it aloud together. And this raises a really important final question for you, the listener. What if the greatest art, the deepest wisdom, the most profound connections, what if they aren't about individual creation, about pulling something from nothing, but about deep remembrance and communal experience? What if true genius lies in the ability to listen and translate rather than invent, and in sharing that translation?
So, this deep dive into Poetry Thursdays, it wasn't just about a unique house or a hidden group of poets. It was really about how opening ourselves up to deep listening to the subtle rhythms, the unspoken languages of the world around us and inside us, how that can fundamentally transform our understanding of creativity, our sense of belonging, even our very identity. It's a powerful reminder that beauty isn't something we always have to conjure up or chase after. Sometimes it's just waiting to be remembered, waiting for us to tune back into its presence.
So as you go about your day, maybe just consider the poems that might be waiting to be read in your own life. Not necessarily in grand landscapes or ancient buildings, though maybe there too, but maybe in the quiet hum of your own home, in the intricate patterns of your daily routine, or in the unspoken wisdom of the people around you. What hidden narratives, what profound truths, what subtle beauty are just waiting to be translated, simply by shifting from trying to write your own story all the time to daring to listen to the one that's already unfolding all around you. What might you discover when you allow yourself to be written?